You know what? I'm so sick of gaming on this piece of crap. I keep getting potato juice in my eyes, and it's just not fun anymore. I really hope the new RTX 30 series graphics cards are in stock soon so that I can buy something just better. Dude, stop being a baby. Why don't you just buy a gaming laptop? They're all on hella sale now anyway. Oh, that actually makes complete sense. There is a whole bunch of exciting laptop hardware just around the corner, which makes now potentially a very good time to buy a current gen gaming laptop. No, you're not going to be getting the fancy new hardware release e-peen, but like I mentioned before, they're all on hella sale now anyway. So I asked Microcenter to send over a laptop that's currently very heavily discounted on their website to see if it's any good, because, well, there is a bit of a caveat to that. Now, if you do want to check out Microcenter, I have some promos you can check out in the description below. They do have the distinct advantage of not being Newegg, which is very good. But anyway, with that, let's have a look at the laptop in question. Oh, whoa, this power brick's as big as a medium-sized rotisserie chicken. In comparison, this is the 230 watt power brick that comes with a razor blade. And yeah, that's a whole lot extra girth for an extra 10 watts. This cadaver grey beauty is in fact a Dell laptop, which longtime viewers of the channel may know could be problematic. Although, maybe their laptops are better than their desktops. It's part of what we're gonna find out today. Now, the chassis is entirely made of plastic. It's not the worst plastic, but the laptop's definitely not as well built as that recent Asus laptop I had a look at, which had a nice mixture of materials. Despite that, it is reassuringly weighty, which makes me think there's a decent cooling solution in here. In terms of I/O placement, the laptop commits the cardinal sin of having right-side USB ports, which means once you plug anything in there, it is immediately in the way of your mouse and irritating. The laptop passes the one-hand open test, and the display isn't that flexy, which is nice. Once you open the laptop, you're greeted by a numpad, which will be really exciting for boring people that are very into Excel. Also, the trackpad would have been considered too small and plasticky back in 1872. Anyway, now that I'm done slandering McConaughey, let's get into the real reason we're all here. The sexy gaming hardware in this G5. In terms of the CPU, we have an Intel i7-11800H, 16 gigs of RAM, which finally, round of applause, it's been ages since we've had that as a stock configuration in a system, and we have an RTX 3060. All that for the current sale price of $8,200 US before tax, which I think is pretty good, especially considering that it comes with the better 165Hz display. And if there's one thing that Dell can do well other than make terrible products, it's put good displays in things, so that's quite exciting. But anyway, with that, I think now is a good time to rip apart the laptop and see how easy it is to upgrade its undercarriage. Now, the thing that's quite promising in terms of upgradability for this laptop is the fact that the panel that you have to remove is just the bottom panel. It doesn't stretch around, interfering with the side I/O and stuff. So hopefully taking off this back panel feels a little less like drop kicking a puppy. Hey, look at that. That was nice and easy. Oh, we've got an Alienware motherboard. Now, in terms of upgradability, it's a bit of a mixed bag, although mostly positive. You can see that we have just non-solder down sticks of RAM. It is a dual 8 gig kit, which is good for performance. Here we have an M.2 slot, and we actually have an additional slot available if you want to put more storage in here. Although, it does look suspiciously like we are going to have to buy an accessory to mount it with. We also have a removable battery, which is always nice to see. Now, my main concern about this laptop's undercarriage is the fact that we can't really see the cooling solution because the CPU and the GPU are mounted on the other side of the motherboard, and that means that if you do want to repaste the cooling solution, you are going to have to remove the entire motherboard, which is definitely not for the faint of heart. But other than that, this is a pretty reasonable laptop undercarriage. But with that, let's power it up and see what kind of bloatware we're working with. Wow, what a cool mouse pad, wink wink. In terms of VD, we have, well, there's McAfee on it, which is already minus 10 points right there. But other than that, I guess we're good. Now, in terms of gaming experience, it is a laptop, which means it's hot and loud. Wow, the temperatures are kind of crazy. We started off running at 4.4 gigahertz with the CPU temps hitting 100 degrees Celsius. That's slowed down a bit, and now the temperatures are looking a bit more reasonable. Having said that, the gaming performance is good. We are averaging about 110 frames per second, and this is with Battlefield 5 running at 1080p high settings in DirectX 12. So now I've converted it into desktop mode, which I did by plugging a monitor into it. I have also propped it up a bit, which I definitely didn't do by just leaning it on a graphics card. Currently, we're running Escape from Tarkov. This is at 1080p medium-ish settings, but it is with like SSR on and stuff. So yeah, you may need to drop the settings a bit to get a higher frame rate. But it feels pretty good. It may just be running at about 60-ish frames per second, but the whole input lag situation is under control, which is important for a game like Escape from Tarkov. So yeah, very usable. With that, let's have a look at a couple more benchmarks. That is a very usable gaming experience. We were getting about 120 frames per second in a lot of the games at 1080p high settings, and even a more demanding game like Cyberpunk still gave us a solid 60 frames per second. And we didn't have to do any upgrading to the system to get that kind of gaming result, which is, that's quite rare on this channel. Now moving over to some negatives, which are very predictable laptop negatives. The temperatures are quite spicy. Even if you lift the laptop off the table a little bit, they were still quite hot. The GPU wasn't too bad actually, but the CPU would get quite hot. And then there's the other major problem with gaming laptops, which is the noise. The first test is with the laptop off the table a little bit, running not in performance mode. Yeah, unless you're using closed-backed headphones to game, that noise is gonna be irritating. And everyone else in your apartment is going to hate your gaming as well, so that's something to bear in mind. The next test is with the laptop running in performance mode. Okay, now it's getting nice and noisy. It's not quite razor blade level noisy, but it's not far off. Yeah, that really is the big issue with gaming laptops for me. Oh, and the display is fine. It was very smooth with no noticeable ghosting, and it has decent color space coverage, uniformity, and contrast ratio, although I got very weird color accuracy results, and I will say the colors did look a bit funky. I'm not sure what's going on there. Now we need to discuss the whole it being a Dell thing. Now, to put all of this into perspective, the last laptop which I tested was an Asus Strix device, which over the week and a half-ish that I spent with it, because I used it for multiple videos, I had one minor issue with it, and it was the fact that it was a huge pain in the butt to uninstall McAfee. That was the only thing. Everything else worked perfectly, whereas I've spent 3 days with the Dell, and I've made a little list. Most of them seem to relate to the GPU. You may have noticed a distinct lack of screen capture in this video, and that's because I couldn't get GeForce Experience to capture games, which is a highly unusual problem. I DDU wiped it a couple times, but I just couldn't get it working. The only game that it would screen capture was Tarkov for some reason, which really doesn't make any sense to me. The next problem is that I just generally had a reasonable amount of stutters and stuff on the desktop, just general Windows stutters, which it was way more stuttery than the Asus laptop that I tested before. The next one was MSI Afterburner's overlays were acting up. Sometimes I'd lose just half of the GPU performance metrics and then they'd pop back later. For the initial testing, I actually used a different layout because of these issues, which you may have noticed as well. And then the next one was toggling performance mode on and off was really fickle for some reason. Sometimes in games, if you hit Control F9, it would just turn it on or off. Sometimes I had to Alt-Tab out of games to be able to turn it off because it wouldn't work while gaming, and then sometimes it just didn't work at all, so yeah, that was also quite all over the place. Now, a bunch of you may be thinking, Dawid, these are shockingly minor niggles, even for you. But that's quite a lot of little software gremlins after just 3 days of testing. And these are gremlins that I haven't had with any of the other laptops that I've tested on this channel before. So clearly, this is still a Dell product. And we've also learned that apparently Elma is also aroused by laptops and not just desktops, and Sony TVs, and older cell phones, and Tidal for some reason. Now, I'm not saying that the next generation of laptop hardware that's being released now isn't going to offer better performance. There seems to be quite a big jump in terms of CPU performance going to this next generation. But come on, that hardware configuration is realistically as much performance as you need from a gaming laptop. Like, that was quite impressive. So if you're looking for a bargain in a world full of scalp monsters, these non-next gen laptops may be one of your only bets. That being said, I'm not sure if I'd buy that Dell. Luckily, there are a whole bunch of other laptops on sale, not just on Microcenter's site, a bunch of other websites as well. But with Microcenter specifically, there is a Lenovo Legion with a Ryzen 7 5800H in it, 16 gigs of RAM, and an RTX 3060 for the same price as this laptop, so I think that is definitely a better bet. Yeah, if you want a deal, now is a good time to get it in terms of gaming laptops. And with that, we've learned many things today. Dell laptops are still Dell products, so you should probably be careful. Actually, on that note, let me know in the comment section down below what experience you've had with a Dell laptop. If you love yours or if you've had problems with it, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Consider watching another video. A suggestion will pop up in a second. And until the next video, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.